Ladies and gentlemen, presented by the WZWA Network, it's the Insider's Edge Podcast with your host, Karlifornia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insider's Edge Podcast here on the WZWA Network. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, Karlifornia Inferior. It's a joy to be with you all once again. And speaking of a joy, right here, right now, I have the opportunity to talk to a guy who I've become a very big fan of over the past year since I first discovered him wrestling on a show called XPW California. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one, this is the only, this is Big Effin' Joe. How are you, brother?
Good, mate. Thank you. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just did a 12-hour shift and I have a cold beer, so...
Oh,
Cheers.
nice. Jealous. I've got to wait. I've got to wait until I've done the school run to have a beer.
Fair enough, but that's good. You got something to look forward to. And Joe, really excited to have the chance to have you on the show here. The thing is, I figured out today that you and I are actually the same age. So I'm intrigued to know about your journey as a fan before you got involved in the business. And see how it compares to me. So how did you become a fan of professional wrestling?
Just one of my first memories, man. Just remember watching WCW when I was a kid and just progressed from there, really.
So WCW was the first thing. That's cool. So like it had to be at some point that you discovered a certain different style of pro wrestling, which is kind of your bread and butter at the moment, the deathmatch and hardcore style of wrestling. I know, considering we're both the same age, getting your hands on footage of that kind of wrestling was very hard and difficult to come by as you're growing up as a fan. So how did you first discover deathmatch and hardcore wrestling?
So in England, there was a magazine called Power Slam. I don't know if it ever made its way out to Australia. And they used to have pictures of old FMW, Anita with the Flames, ECW, obviously, as it came into more prominence. And in the back pages, there was like a small ads where people would write in like looking for pen pals. And I dread to think how many nonsense and pedophiles are in that little section. But basically you could find tape traders, and that's how I started falling down the slippery slope of ECW, then CZW, FMW, all that sort of stuff.
Right, that's awesome. Yeah, well, I interviewed Thumbtack Jack about 2 years ago, and he told me about this obsession he had from just seeing these stills in these magazines, and he just had no idea how he was going to ever get his hands on that footage, but he was just obsessed with it. So yeah, it's cool hearing, your version of events, and that you're able to find those tapes that a lot of us did back in the day. So your fandom grows, obviously, to a point where you want to start getting training. And I believe you get training with the UK Pitbulls, Dave and Mike Waters. Is that correct?
Yeah. Basically, I found them. I was watching them as a teenager. I'd go to shows on my own, like a Straub, and they were always on the shows in the local area. And I obviously found out that they had a training school. So I knew when I was finished with college, I was going to go there and learn to try to be a wrestler. So.
Right. And how was the experience with those guys?
It was interesting. It was definitely like an old school sort of deal. The ring was very small. You could only bump corner to corner. It was a boxing ring, so it was very hard. And they're quite larger than life characters. So today it wouldn't fly, because everyone's so like in this PC, like, snowflake generation. It wouldn't fly, but it was hard, but it was good. It shaped me to become the person I am today. So nothing but good things to say about them. But yeah, because they're like a bit more punk rock and old school. It was different.
Right. And these days, everyone needs a little bit of baby powder up their ass before they do anything.
Everyone these days, like they would tell people in training, look, we just don't want to take your money. This is not, this is not Make-A-Wish, maybe be a referee, maybe be a cameraman and stuff. They were very honest. No one needs to hear the good stuff. You need to hear everything that's bad about you. So I'll always take that from them. They were my best friends now in the business today. So I can't put them over enough.
That's very cool to hear. So, okay, you do some training with these big boys. Tell me about your first match.
My first match, there's quite a cool story with that. My first singles match anyway was against a guy called Stevie Knight, who was he was like one of the top guys in Britain, like like during the tape trading era in England, he was like one of the names. He was like ahead of the game. Him, Doug Williams, Johnny Storm, people like that. And in the first match, as a rib, he said, "Oh, you're gonna get color." Like, I don't know, okay, whatever. Just leave it to him. And so he hits me in the head with a fork in the match, just pulls it out of his tights. Like it's a normal traditional wrestling match, puts me in a headlock, tells the referee to turn around, pulls the fork out, hits me in the head with the fork. And I think I'm getting color because I've never done it before. I just presume he's going to give me color. So I'm there like selling my head, trying to get blood out. And there's nothing there. It was just a rib on me. So that was kind of interesting. And the whole match went, "Can you do anything off the top?" I went, "Yeah, I can do a moonsault." He's like, "Good, missed that, and we'll go home." That's all I had to know. So the lesson from that was like, after the match, he said, "The reason I didn't tell you anything is because if you're not told anything, you can't forget anything. Like the match can't go wrong because you're not planning from A to Z. The fans don't, if they don't go for it, you have to change." So yeah, that was a cool first match against someone I really respected and grew up tape trading as well. So it's all good.
Oh, that's cool, bro. So I noticed because I went on cagematch.net, which is usually where I get a lot of my information on people's careers and how they began. I believe you spent a lot of time in a company called World Association of Wrestling, and you tag with a guy called Danny Darko, also known as Johnny Cougar in the Lost Boys. Tell me about tagging with him and your time with that company.
So WAW is Paige's family's promotion.
Right.
They're local to Norwich, and the Pitbulls were always cool to be like, go train everywhere and anywhere, do as many things as you can. Some schools get a bit butthurt about things like that. And they were the next closest school. So I started training there and met Danny Darko, who had a Native American gimmick at the time, which he likes to forget. And we just clicked straight away. We'd be the ones after training that would go out and party and, hang out and stuff, rather than the other ones would just go back and sit and watch wrestling shows, I guess, all night and do that sort of thing. So we just clicked really well, and then they could see it at the training and started putting us together in tag team matches, which was good. And we're still friends and still team today.
Wicked, awesome stuff. I didn't know that. I should have known that was the Knight family's company. But that's very cool to hear. So during these early years, how would you describe what the UK scene was like with pro wrestling?
It was kind of just before the kickoff of like obviously Progress and stuff, and became more. There was more of a scene. This was kind of in between the boom from like the Attitude Era. Obviously, there was a boom in England, and then it was kind of on the downside. This was like the quieter days. Like, don't get me wrong, you still do shows every week, but they weren't to the level where they were a few years later. With the rise of like Progress and just the internet like really helping, this was kind of like in the doldrums, so to speak.
Right, interesting. I was just curious. I always like to hear about a certain territory and what it was like at a certain period of time. So speaking of like, okay, you've been working, mostly in the UK for this period of time in your career, but in my research, it could be wrong. The internet's wrong sometimes, but it said that you first performed in the United States in 2007 for a company called Division 1 Pro Wrestling. I believe it said that you won a Bunkhouse Battle Royal, and New Jack was also on the card.
Yeah, New Jack was on the card. I can't remember winning the Bunkhouse Battle Royal. Basically, me and Darko went on a holiday to Florida. As kids, we had like fake IDs, which we'd use out there so we could drink alcohol. Because obviously, being British, if you got a fake ID saying you're 21, they just think you're 21, even if you're 18, whatever. And we got on to an indie show that had New Jack on, and he was really interesting guy.
That's cool.
Yeah,
bro.
so he did that. Yeah, that's true, but I don't know about the Bunkhouse Battle Royal.
Right. Again, the internet can be wrong.
Who knows? Yeah.
That's cool. Cool. So you had your first trip to the US. So you were just on holiday, and you just managed to get yourself a booking or something like that.
Yeah, so basically at the time I was working a bar, a nightclub, and I'd make so much money that we'd just literally go to Florida or go to America like every month or so just to party. We were young. And it turned out we met a guy. My friend was dating a girl whose dad used to be a jobber in WCW. and he just ended up getting us on shows in Florida randomly when we were out there. So it was like go party, get to play fight in our pants and stuff, and yeah, it was cool. Good times.
That is very cool. It's about who you know sometimes, isn't it? So here's again, internet, my research, don't know what's what. I noticed on cagematch.net, which has a lot of information on people and how many times they've wrestled and where they've wrestled, etc. After November 13th, 2010, you apparently only wrestled 3 times between then and 2015. Is that incorrect?
Probably, yeah. I'd imagine so. I don't know. I know I took a little break and stuff because I had like real life stuff to do, like kids and stuff. But it definitely, yeah, that would be wrong.
Okay, cool. Just checking, because I was thinking, well, there was such a gap. Maybe there's a big reason why. Maybe he got really badly hurt or something like that. But no juicy goss. They're just.
I've never been hurt too bad wrestling, which is good.
That
so
is
far.
Good. Considering the style that you've become to be known for, which is a lot of this hardcore deathmatch stuff, which I love. Fast forward, okay, to July 19th, 2018. You're wrestling Casanova Valentine at JCW Oddball Wrestling, which I would imagine would have been super exciting for you to wrestle for Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Tell me about that experience there, and you know, about work for the Clowns.
So basically they toured England for the first time in like 10-15 years, and I said to Darko, like, we need to go because obviously I'm a juggalo, we need to go. So we snuck backstage, and we, after the meet and greet, and we were speaking to them, we were basically saying about like wrestling and stuff, and we got talking, and they took my email address down on a paper plate and said, oh, we'll be in touch, we'll hit you up. So I said, like, the Gathering's my WrestleMania, like, as an English person, like, that'd be sick to go to the Gathering. And then a few months later, they kept to their word, just getting a message from the Clowns saying, yeah, do you want to be a part of the Gathering and stuff? And, you know, this is what we'll do for you. So it's just like, if you don't try, you don't get, right? So by sneaking backstage and talking to them, they were super fucking cool and hooked it all up for me. And then that's how I met Cass, and Cass is a fucking dude. So we partied at the Gathering, bled at the Gathering, and then he's like helped me out in America and stuff.
Awesome. So, okay, I always, if I have someone on the show that's been to the Gathering, I have to ask a little bit about the experience. I've talked to Pondo, who's been there. I've talked to Too Tough Tony, who's been there. Can you tell me any sort of, you know, memories of being at the Gathering?
Okay. So within 5 minutes of being there, I went to the Gypsy Crew tent, like camping area, and hit a 6-foot bong for the first time. Like, it was giant, like this giant 6-foot bong. Never met these people before. Super cool. So that was the start of my Gathering experience. It's just fucked up, man. It's like everyone that likes live music experiences should go to one Gathering. It's life changing for sure.
Yeah,
I don't want to say too much. It's just fucking mental, and I don't want to get like shit, but you just see so much fucked up shit. It's so good.
I thought as much, but it's still on my bucket list. It's still on my bucket list.
Do it for sure. Go on forever, because they're only getting older. But yeah, it's a real cool experience.
Cool. Hopefully next year I'll be able to go. Cool. So speaking of Casanova Valentine, you've worked with him 6 times. It might be more. Internet again, could be wrong. Including a no-ring death match in Vegas with Marcus Crane involved. May he rest in peace. But one big one that I've seen myself, and we've actually done a reaction video to it on our YouTube channel, was CZW Tournament of Death 18, Bundles and Boards match. For you, how important was it to finally work a Tournament of Death, and what did you think of that experience?
It was a life goal. Like, I still remember getting TOD1 on VHS, like bootlegged, and it came through before I went to school, so I had to bunk school that day, of course. Like, the postman came early that day. Yeah, it's fucking awesome to work TOD. I mean, the circumstances around that match weren't ideal, because he was coming from New York, and it was a case of like the match got moved back. Oh, if he's not here in the next 5 minutes, you're just gonna have to work whoever, you know. So the circumstances around it weren't great, but it's fucking TOD, man. I was just an English tape trader kid, you know, that would have seemed impossible back in the day. So yeah, definitely a life goal ticked off right there. It was the
Right.
world's worst. Like, it wasn't the best TOD of all time. Definitely not. Like, I'm not saying that. But who cares? Like, fucking none of my friends have done TOD like in England, so I'll take it.
No, that's awesome, bro. A goal achieved there. And, I want to kind of press on this TOD experience a little bit more. For you, are you going out there with a lot of those fans, not really knowing a lot about you, maybe? You hadn't wrestled on a CZW show before. I don't know what it's kind of like with those fans there. Did you feel like you had something to prove there? Did you feel like there was a bit of pressure to get over with their fan base?
Oh, 100%. Because at the time, like, no one really knew who I was at all, really. So it's super, super nerve wracking. And then obviously it's amplified because it does mean so much to me. It's not just another show. Like some of them American guys, they kind of, it's probably lost on them. They don't realize the platform they have. Yeah, it was nerve wracking, man. I can't, like, there's nothing more. I get crazy nerves before wrestling. So that was an exceptionally bad one for me, nerves wise. But yeah, it was all good.
That's good. That's good, bro. Because like here's the thing. Like I think about a crowd seeing you come out for the first time, and this is the question that kind of makes me laugh a little bit. For a lot of people out there that may not understand when they first see Big F and Joe walk out, why was your attire of choice a collared shirt and your white undie pants? It makes a great visual with all the blood because they're both white. And I know Jasmine St. Clair has talked about your big legs being eye candy in the past as well. So tell me a little bit about the decision for that outfit.
It all started through like a rib in a promotion called Rise. We were doing like a storyline, and it just, rather than wearing the dress trousers, looking like Right to Censor or Corporate Kane, you know, in a dress suit and stuff, and it's like more comedic. When I work security or a bouncer or whatever you call it in where you're from, a lot of the time your trousers do rip in real fights. They just rip, like you'll slam something to the floor and your trousers will rip and your balls will be out and stuff. So it's just more comical, and it started from that, and it's just an easy sort of thing. Like, no matter, on first sight, no matter what match has been on before, you're always going to remember the fat cunt in the tighty whities or the nappy or whatever the fuck people think it is. Like, by hook or by crook, you'll talk about it, and that's all that really matters in wrestling, right? So it's half the job done there and then. As well, with the death match thing, so many guys wrestle in fucking jeans and a long sleeve top and stuff, and it's like death match, right? It's a visual art form. So I mean, for me, it works. Like, I'm not justifying it as a good look because it's not, but realistically, for me, it's a good hustle because the gear's super cheap and people always fucking talk about it. And then when I do family shows as well, it's like 90% of my shows are family shows, so you can have more fun with it. You know, you're in a fucking pants, so you can do like stink faces and stupid, goofy shit like that just get over with a different audience because more pantomime as such. But yeah, just it's noticed. That's the whole reason behind it, really.
Right. Okay, that's cool. Now I've uncovered that, and you know what? It does stand out. People do remember it because I'll tell you a little story here, Joe. On our YouTube channel, we do reviews of wrestling pay-per-views, etc. And we're the only ones that seem to have the balls to actually cover XPW. My co-host he didn't really know a lot about XPW. So he was going to this kind of, just looking at it from a fresh perspective. Perhaps maybe had listened to a little bit too much Jim Cornette that week, but in the review, I mean, we talked about, you're in 3 matches on that show. In the review, like, you work with the big boy, Terex, Necro Butcher, and also Masada. And my co-host was just ripping into you, and I was like, "Ease up, like, it wasn't that bad. What's your problem?" Anyway, I don't know what was with him that day, but the day that the review went out on YouTube, you should have seen the amount of people with comments on Twitter, on our YouTube channel, just ripping into my co-host. And I don't know, it just made me laugh so much that he was just torn to shreds by all these big F and Joe fans, to the point where we did the next day do a reaction video of you and Casanova Valentine at TOD, and then he realized how in the wrong he was because he just didn't get it. You know what I mean? And I think maybe he just judged you on what he thought was your attire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the attire, and wrestling's so subjective. So I'll never get offended by, someone not getting what I'm selling, sort of thing. But I just think, like, by hook or by, he was talking about it, right? If I'd have just went out in fucking jeans with some band patches and a fucking emo top on, there'd be no conversation, right? So it's important to be remembered. So even if they don't like it, they're fucking talking. That's half the battle. So that's where I stand. And plus, like, it's more visual. Like, I'm bleeding in fucking pants, man. In no knee pads, no elbow pads, just pants. Some people are going out there like looking like. Can you remember Greg Valentine when he was in that barbed wire match in Japan? They got fucking jeans on with pads over the jeans, fucking hoodie. It's like, what's the fucking point? It's deathmatch, man. If I've got the balls to do it in pants, then fucking that says something to the other guys. Maybe, I don't know.
Very cool, bro. I just wanted to tell you that story because it got a real chuckle out of me because I like when my co-host gets a little bit of misfortune in his life. It really it pops me. So not long to go here, Joe. Really appreciate your time again. As time wears on after this period, after your TOD experience, you start to work with some names, real like kind of big US deathmatch names like SHLAK for the first time in Leeds in England in 2021. Hood fought for ICW No Holds Barred in 2022. John Wayne Murdoch the following month in Illinois. How did you feel, now you're starting to work with some of these, I guess, names from the US? That must have been pretty exciting for you, right?
Yeah, it was a good run because I'm still a massive wrestling fan. So I always watch wrestling if I'm like on the cross trainer and stuff. So I've been watching these guys for years, thinking like I would love to do death matches, but in England there just wasn't the scene. So to finally get to, step toe to toe with guys I've watched for years and then make new friendships and connections and stuff was a really cool time. I had some fucking wars as well. Like the matches held up, most of them, so it was good.
That's cool, bro. And the next one, I've only got a couple more questions here before we get to our final segment. I'm ending this with this one here because I want to save more for next time if maybe you want to come on the show in maybe a year's time or so. April 9th, 2022, as I just talked about, XPW Karlifornia, you battle that big bastard, T-Rex, the legendary Necro Butcher. I mean, come on. And then MASADA in the semifinals, another deathmatch legend and someone I would consider a friend now. How big of an occasion is this for you? I mean, we've talked about some names just before there, but you're working with Necro and MASADA in the same night. That's crazy. Come on, tell me a little bit about that.
And that was a fucking long, long day because I think when I checked the time in England, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning or something. Yeah, that was fucking a shift, man. I think when I worked Necro, I think the first punch he threw broke my nose. Obviously, it was barefoot as well. I had a torn Achilles at the time. So the barefoot thing I didn't know was coming. And that was just on the moment sort of thing. So that was the shower that night really fucking sucked. I remember going through the airport like death. Yeah, that was fun. It's just a shame the show went on for like 8 hours, but I think people should check out that tournament. Definitely an underrated tournament, I would say.
Definitely, and I'm sure it's been edited down because there were a lot of gaps between the matches to set the next one up. But I watched it after it had finished, so I could skip through all that, so it wasn't too painful for me from Australia here. But yeah, huge day for you.
You'd do your match and you'd be like up here, then you think, right, what's the next? And you'd be like waiting 3 hours before your next match, so you're fucking ready for bed and the shower and stuff. That was yeah, a really, really long night.
You know what? I just remembered. I always ask the deathmatch guys on the show this question: how many times do you think you've ruined bed sheets over the years with just blood seeping out from you whilst you're sleeping? This seems like it'll be quite a prominent problem throughout the scene, right?
Yeah. It's best to normally sleep in a hoodie or something like a tracksuit, I'd say, and just kayfabe the sheets, palm them off. It's normally the best thing to do. I find if you got seeping steeping wounds and shit.
Yeah, I just wonder.
Another thing that's hard for deathmatch guys, which not many of them do, but sunbeds. When you got like massive open cuts, try to go on a sunbed is no fun. You have to cover them up, I guess, when you got your insides hanging out.
Crazy shit, bro. So the last question before we get to the final segment: what is next for Big F and Joe? Who do you want to work with? What do you want to accomplish next? What is, you know, on the bucket list for you next?
I'm just happy doing cool shit, man. Like, because I thought none of this would happen. Like, I just fucking love wrestling. Even if I was wrestling in a holiday camp in England for 30 quid and a fucking pizza, I'd be ecstatic. So right now, I feel I'm on a good run. You know, I've done well. Obviously, TOD got postponed, but it would have been GCW, CZW, and XPW all in the space of 3 weeks. So I think that's a pretty good standing in independent wrestling wise, because I don't know of anyone that's, you know, working and getting on with everyone as such. But opponent wise, I would like to have another match with SHLAK for sure. Try to get that belt off him, off his cold dead hands. Nick Gage would be a massive one for me as well. Before he eventually ends it, sort of thing, I guess. I'm just happy to do cool shit. Like, I want to get to Japan. That's a goal of mine. Australia is a goal of mine as well. I just want to keep doing cool shit, man. Like, life's too short to work shit jobs you hate, right?
Exactly. I went through that for about 10 years of my life, and now I'm pretty settled. But you know, Deathmatch Down Under, if anyone from that company, if you're listening to me right now, you're watching this interview, come on, book in. It's Big F and Joe, for fuck's sake. It'll be great. It'll be great to have you over here, bro. Okay, so Big F and Joe, we're going to get to our final segment here of the show. It's funny about your favorite things in life. The first three are about wrestling, though. Joe, who is your favorite pro wrestler of all time?
Of all time, let's just say I'll go with Sting. Fuck it, of all time, Sting.
Awesome. Very good choice. Do you have a favorite opponent from over the years?
SHLAK, Cass, Darko. Yeah, just as well when you're friends, like Bulk. You know, one of my trainers. When you're friends, it's more fun because you can laugh at shit. You can look back at shit for years and bring up past memories. So I'd say anytime I work with friends, a good time.
Cool. Is there one particular match that you'd say is the favorite one that you've performed in? If someone said to you, hey, show me what it is that you do, what would be that match you'd show them?
That's a hard one, but maybe just for making it easy for them, maybe me versus Necro at Karlifornia. It's only 2-3 minutes.
Right.
So it's not much attention. It was quite a mad match as well, like with the barefoot in the glass and shit.
Very cool. Okay, getting away from wrestling now. Do you have a favorite book?
Favorite book, man. Maybe Foley's first biography, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you have a
Christmas? That's why I think I got fond memories of it.
right? Fair enough. That's cool. Do you have a favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? I don't really watch much TV. If I do, it's normally comedies. So like there was an English comedy called Bottom back in the day, or there's a current one called People Do Nothing, which is like about a pirate radio station. That's quite good.
Cool.
Anything comedy. I don't want to think too much. You know, once I finish work, I just want to get stoned and chill out.
Yeah. Good call. Do you have a favorite film?
Ooh, again, this is gonna ruin my credibility. Maybe Happy Gilmore or Step Brothers.
That's okay, bro. I interviewed Sabu, and his favorite TV show was like The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or something like that. So it can never be too weird when I've heard that from Sabu. Next one, favorite musical artist or band?
I've got two sides. So obviously, massive Juggalo, so ICP, but then I'm massively into like pop punk. So like, you know, bands like fucking Blink-182, Bowling for Soup, and shit like that. And my ska punk like Less Than Jake, and bands like NoFX. So anything that sort of genre.
Right. So now I know why you used to be called Joe FX. Okay.
Yeah,
I've
I
uncovered it.
play on, funnily enough.
Very cool, bro. Okay, getting away from the arts now. We've only got 5 to go. Favorite food?
Pizza.
Very
Pizza.
good.
A shit pizza is still better than nothing, right? Like there's no such thing as bad pizza. It's like when you come, like if you're getting laid or whatever, as long as you come, you're fucking happy, right? So a pizza, whether it's a good pizza or a bad pizza, is still the same. It's pizza. It's great.
Great analogy, bro. Do you have a favorite place to eat on the road?
In England, it's pretty shit because you only really after 11 o'clock, unless it's a kebab shop, which is unlikely because you're on the road, would be McDonald's. And that's so boring. But America, you have places like Wawa, which is so good, so convenient. That's my favorite thing about going to America is just all the junk food options. No matter what, if you want a fucking Chinese buffet at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can get it. But
Crazy.
America-wise, I'll say Wawa.
Okay, very cool. What's your favorite alcoholic beverage?
I'm a light beer person, so I guess like a Coors Light, Bud Light, pretty easy, cheap date.
Very good, very good. Second last one could be considered the naughtiest one of the favorite things here. Favorite female body part? Big F and Josie is a good-looking woman. What will your eyes look at first?
Tits, I guess.
Very good.
I guess.
Awesome, bro. And the last one here, Big F and Joe. Favorite curse word?
Fuck, I say it so much. Or cunt, because people get offended by it, and I don't get it. Like I'll never get how people get offended by words. Like, why would you give power to a word?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe fuck or cunt. Yeah,
you see, the thing is, you're English, I'm Australian. We get it. We understand what cunt means. You know, that to us, it could be most of the time a term of endearment. You know, he's a good cunt.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And the people you don't like, sometimes you call mate. You know, you go, look, mate. So that's kind of how it works. You know, with our.
Yeah, I think the world's fucked up if people getting offended by everything. Pathetic.
I agree, bro. And I've had a great time here on this show with you, Big F and Joe. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And, hope to see you in Australia sometime. Hope to see your continued success in the US. So again, thank you so much for your time, bro.
No, thank you, dude, for putting me over.
No worries, bro. And thank all of you out there for joining us here on the Insider's Edge podcast. I'm Karlifornia. This is my new homie, Big F and Joe, and we will see you down the road. Thank you.
Network, that's the way we play. Good God Almighty. Network, that's the way we play. Get puppies. Network, that's the way we play. Get.
The following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.